assholes. I mean, hello, friends and loved ones. It's me, that guy, the most dangerous man alive today, coming at you with an MMA oddity. In this series of video reviews, I'm going to pick those fights of MMA history that are odd or strange or just historically significant. Maybe there are weird pairings or hapless pro wrestlers in one-off fights or just bizarre for some other reason. On our first oddity, just on a glance, one would think that this is not odd at all until you really think about this matchup and the historical significance of it. This is Kimo Leopoldo, Jesus, taking on Kazushi Sakuraba. In what is regarded as Sakuraba's first MMA fight, this bout has long been shrouded in controversy. Some have continually claimed that Sakuraba has called this fight a work or a fixed fight. In reality, Sakuraba says he doesn't remember it. Kimo, meanwhile, has always maintained it was a real fight. Regardless, this fight happening at Shoot Boxing S Cup of 1996 on July 14th of 96 came a full year before Sakuraba would debut at Pride 2. This is a strange event mixing singular fights of an early MMA style alongside a rather highly regarded tournament called the Shoot Boxing World Tournament. Anyway, we've got no time to talk about that. Funny enough, this event was held on Sakuraba's birthday, who would turn 27 years old that day. Today, it's considered a bit old to take up MMA at such a late age, but back then, old farts in MMA were aplenty. Take Kimo, for instance, who was 29 years old at the time and had started MMA only 2 years prior. Sakuraba is a fresh 0-0 for this fight. Meanwhile, Kimo was 3-2. Let's press play here and see what happens. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. Oh yeah, Japanese. It's all in Japanese, but it's a fight. We don't need to know what they're saying. There's Sakuraba. Not sure what any of that says. I have some notes here about these fighters. Kimo had twice whipped Pat Smith's ass before this fight. Once in a K1 Legend event in Japan, and then once in the Unified Full Contact Federation's first tournament, also in Japan. There's Kimo right there. He looks like a drug dealer. That's fitting considering his problems with meth. A tournament, going back to the Unified Full Contact Federation, the tournament that Kimo would win, apparently. But he lost to Hoist Gracie and Ken Shamrock in the UFC. There's Sakuraba coming to the ring. For some reason, Kimo was having a small love affair with Japan around this time, or maybe it was vice versa. This would be Kimo's fourth bout in Japan, and he would have one immediately after in Japan after this fight. And oh my god, look at this sight. Kimo. Wow. Sakuraba. Wow. Here we go. Is this a work or is this a shoot? We'll find out. Sakuraba secures a takedown. Pretty nice, but Kimo's going for a guillotine. He's going to try and use it to stand up. Kimo in cute baby blue trunks. Kimo was a bad... I love Kimo for this reason alone, because I really do like him, but there's so much shit you can talk about this guy. It's like I wouldn't even call it a love-hate. I just love to shit talk him. He's got a standing guillotine now. Don't know if he's going to get it. Here's a knee. Sakuraba, I think, is heavily outweighed in this. Kimo's probably about 220, maybe 230. Sakuraba might be barely pushing 190. I know during this time period he was trying to bulk up. Oh, there's Kimo grabbing the ropes, that cheating motherfucker. Get your hands off the ropes! Sakuraba was attempting to put on weight to go into pro wrestling endeavors and maybe fighting endeavors as well. Sakuraba, who had been wrestling under the UWFI, nice. The UWFI banner, would soon be looking for a new job after this event, as UWFI would shutter its doors in December of 96. He would head over to Kingdom Shoot Style Promotion for a few months before entering Pride at, I assume, the behest of Nobuhiko Takada. Now Sakuraba's in Kimo's guard, but Kimo very spidery there, almost going to Sakuraba's back. We're almost 2 minutes in, and there's a lot of grappling on the ground in this fight, and Sakuraba is sort of telegraphing his later style, at least his early style and pride. Kimo they fall, and Kimo gets advantaged position here. He's going to go for bare-fisted punches. His blue ass on top of orange ass. And this is not a good position for Sakuraba, but I don't think he's absorbed too much damage. You know what's funny is that Sakuraba, before he went into pro wrestling, he was considering going into Pancrase, and I wonder if Nobuhiko Takada had somehow played a part in him deciding not to go into Pancrase. I always wondered why Sakuraba didn't fight in Pancrase. I mean, I think he probably would have done pretty well, but I think maybe somehow Takada got in his ear and said, no, don't go into that, let's go into pro wrestling. Because I don't know how good a relationship Takada had with Minoru Suzuki or Masakazu Funaki, who were real fighters. I don't know which has happened there. And now he's going for a arm triangle here, and he's got it secure. And this big, giant white gorilla on top of you. Jesus, get him off me. He's going for the arm triangle. He's got it wrapped up pretty good, but he's letting go of it now. What? Is Sakuraba done? Is that it? What the fuck happened here? He didn't tap. That's it. Wow. Not a whole lot of meat to this fight here. And there's Sakuraba afterwards. Look at that blown up ear. Did he get that in his fight? Wow. Look at that. The start of his terrible cauliflower ear, maybe. I've never heard Sakuraba really talk. I must say, I don't think I've ever really heard Sakuraba talking. Sounds like a soft-spoken guy. Wow. Well, that's it for this fight. What an oddity. This is the pilot episode, so of course it's going to be extra shit. But yeah, that's, I guess, all we have to say. There's Kimo! He's hopped up on meth.
But he just kept going and going.
And the video is all out of sync. I might have to fix this.
The more you heart you show like
He's looking young here. He's looking like before drugs have dragged him down. It looks good. You know, I always said Kimo would have been, he had the look, he had the body, not sure about the charisma. So he had two of the three halves. He had the looks, he had the body, but he didn't have the charisma. I like to say myself, I am the man of three halves. I have the looks, I have the body, and I have the charisma. But anyway, I always thought Kimo, he would have been awesome as a pro wrestler. He just had that look about him. He could have been a Bond sub-villain, like the henchman of the Bond villain. He could have been played a superhero. I mean, whatever you want. I think the guy just had an awesome look, tattoos and all. Especially when he had let his hair kind of grow out here. He kind of had, shortcut hair. But Kimo, always think he's a badass, even if he's a giant meth head. And what can we say about Sakuraba? He's awesome. He's the best. And this is humble beginnings for the man we all love. Anyway, that does it for this episode of MMA Oddities. I'll be back very soon with some more odd and weird MMA fights from the history of MMA. See you later.